What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Division 3 Diaries podcast here on YouTube and Spotify. Today, I'm joined by Coach Randi Taylor Toomay. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. Former All-American at Laverne and current coach at Laverne as well. Why don't you give yourself a quick introduction?
Hi, my name is Randi Taylor Toomay, actually Dr. Taylor Toomay. I am a professor at the University of Laverne and have been the first assistant since 2019. And I played at Laverne from 2009 to 2012 for those fall seasons.
As mentioned, I mean, very, very late, but All-American congratulations is in due from everyone in the community. But what kind of got you, I guess to start out, what kind of got you into coaching? And obviously, I feel like having that connection, being a player at Laverne had a big impact on you deciding to come back to coach there. But is there like anything else when you were getting into coaching that really kind of drew you to Laverne other than the fact that you played there?
Yeah, so obviously I'm an alum of Laverne and I was attending Laverne for my teaching credential originally and started coaching at a local high school, local to Laverne. Um, and the coaches that I had worked under at Laverne my junior and senior year, so Jeff Hendershot and Jenna Panettiere, Jeff and I had always been friends. Jeff and I had stayed close. I coached club with him after I was done playing at Laverne, and we kind of made a deal. We said, Jeff, if you ever become the head coach, I'll come in and be your assistant. And that was always our plan. So in 2019, early 2019, when Jenna made the choice to move into athletic administration at Laverne, and Jeff was going to be the interim head coach. I was the first phone call he made. He called me. He said, "Okay, Randy, it's happening. I'm going to move into the head coach role, and I want you on board." So I came back to Laverne at that point, right away to work under Jeff. And, obviously we had the pandemic and stuff, but from 2019 till current, I have been kind of the right hand man with Jeff and had this plan all along to come in and coach together.
I mean, that's I always love having that. I have a couple of friends that are like, "Hey, if we get to college, we should coach together." And I'm like, some of them I'm like, maybe. The other ones I'm like, yeah, I know that'd be great. But obviously, like you've had the experience of being at Laverne as both a player and as a coach. And I was just wondering if you could kind of speak and talk on the culture, if there was like a major shift in a positive direction, like the difference between when you were playing versus when you've been coaching these past few years, even the difference from last year to this year. Just like kind of speak on the culture at Laverne and how it's positively impacted court play, relations, all the above.
Yeah, so Laverne Volleyball has a really long tradition of being a dominant program in Division 3. And it kind of stumbled. And when I came in and played at Laverne, we were really good. And then we were down a couple years. And then when Jeff took over, we were down a few years at the beginning. And Jeff and the other coaches and myself, we kind of decided as a culture for this program was we need to get back to being a dominant winning program, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. We really elevated the expectations and we call it the standard. We really elevated the standard in our gym in the last 4 years and have held our team and our program to a standard physically, academically, and then obviously with our volleyball systems to just a higher level. And there are some growing pains, and have been some times where some people have fallen off and some people have stepped up, and it was basically a decision as a coaching staff of like, this is what we're going to expect of our program, and you're going to jump on board and you're going to be a leopard and fit in with this, or you're not. And we've been really fortunate that most of our players and most of our core group over the last 4 years have really bought into that, and we've been able to recruit and develop a program that fits what we had envisioned for. So the girls have really stepped up and pulled into that. So the culture really is, this school is we call it, University of La Volleyball. Like this is a volleyball school, and this is a volleyball community, and we owe it to the campus and we owe it to ourselves to restore that winning tradition that they had for so long in the early 2000s.
I mean, the winning tradition definitely stacked up this past year. You guys had some pretty massive wins. Even I mean, the first game of the year against Center, that's right there is a massive win. You had the Cornell win, um, Santa Cruz. And then obviously the tournament, you guys had a run that I wouldn't say not a lot of people expected, but it was definitely at least a little surprising, especially like going in sweeping Messiah. I think it was you guys swept. And then you went in and beat Colby in 3 or 4. And then obviously the one of the biggest wins of the season, if not the biggest win, going into number 4 MIT at MIT. And kind of going in there and saying, yeah, away game, whatever. This is our home court. We don't care anymore. And sweeping them. And you could even go further than that. While you didn't like not even beating Giuliana, but being able to take a set from them, that is a massive, massive achievement. Especially given their core they've had for the past 3 or 4 years. So if you could kind of speak on, I guess, like to focus on the tournament run, kind of like obviously you mentioned like that your community is very they back you very well. Like it's a volleyball school. Just kind of the like when you guys made the Elite Eight and beating MIT and coming back to campus from that, like how did the school as a whole, the community surrounding the school, kind of like I guess hype you guys up, make you feel like, oh my goodness, like we did this because obviously you have the moment where like we just upset MIT, we just took a set from Giuliana, but sometimes like you need that like extra outside force saying like you guys did this for it to really settle in. So how did the community like come around after those?
Yeah, in the 2023 season, we went out to Oshkosh and made the regional final, and we lost in four. And we were coming home from that trip. We had a long drive back to the airport. And as a coaching staff, we said, okay, we made a regional final. Next year, we're winning a regional. And we made that commitment right then, probably less than 2 hours after we lost to Oshkosh, the plans were set. What do we have to do to win a regional next year? We would have loved to have hosted, but that doesn't happen too much for the West Coast schools. So we kind of knew we'd get flown out. And in the 2024 season, when we made NCAA's and we had won our automatic, we were hoping for the MIT regional, and we were hoping to get out to Boston, not because of we wanted a trip to Boston, but we felt like that regional was really going to be a good matchup for us because we had seen Claremont do really well against them the year before, and we had a really similar team. To be honest, we weren't super concerned about them being, only one loss, and we weren't super concerned about playing at MIT. We were pretty focused down that stretch and excited to play them and have that opportunity to really play a top level team. And so the girls were so determined. When we were coming home from MIT after winning the regional, the community and like the alumni and everyone, Laverne has such a huge alumni base, myself included, with volleyball players, that we came home to everyone just so proud and elated that we were back in the Elite Eight for the first time in a long time. We had a lot of alumni, a lot of families, a lot of support on social media, people coming out and just, whatever happens in Virginia in the Elite Eight is, we call it house money, where it's like, you guys are already have had such an amazing season that going to Virginia and pushing it a little further was just icing on the cake, so to speak. And it was really interesting because we had realized that Juniata's, historic run that they're still on of not winning any or not losing any matches, that started against us in the 2022 season. So they had lost to Trinity. We were out at Trinity at a tournament. They had lost to Trinity the match before us, so then they played us, beat us. So we had started their winning streak that, everyone in Division 3 volleyball talks about. So we were really excited for the opportunity to get to go play them again this year, or in 2024 season. We were so excited to get to go play them again and show how much progress and growth we had had in the last 2 years. Their lineup was essentially unchanged. And so for us, it was again like just getting the opportunity to really show how we can play against top level teams and that we are a top level team. And Getting that first set off of them and then getting real close to going to a fifth set with them was just incredible. And the community at Laverne was so proud of us either way, proud of us for bringing home the regional trophy and proud of us for going to the Elite Eight and being on that national stage. So naturally, everyone's really hoping to see us go a little further this coming season too.
I mean, always the next step. And what a lot of I say this a lot, but what some people might not know is the MIT upset is actually what started this whole page, just by chance. But I just remember
Awesome.
personally being kind of with just hanging out with the women's team at Sage. And we most of us tried to do this bracket. Not everyone watches on the team watches full Division three, but me and the head coach Roz, we both did brackets. We were talking, and I texted her like I all caps. I'm like, MIT just got upset in three. And we were like, no way. Like, and then everything started going crazy. Like, it was just an amazing match. It was one that I actually had the pleasure of watching. Um, and just kind of speaking on the match specifically and one specific player, you can probably guess who that player is. But Maya Ray hitting 450 plus with nearly 20 kills in that match. It just goes to show how good of a player she is. And she isn't even a senior yet. And she's probably going to go down if as one of the best, if not the best, even just statistically players Laverne has ever seen.
Yeah.
So obviously, like she's got to be like a leader, and she has to be someone that the team looks up to. But from a coaching perspective, just kind of give us an insight on on Maya Ray and like how she's kind of impacted this team in a positive way. And I don't even mean just like her on court ability. It's just you can tell that your team rallies behind her. Obviously, like this coming season, she's definitely going to be in like the national player of the year candidacy for the entirety of the year. So like just kind of like even beyond stats, beyond the court, just kind of like even if it's like a team lift, a team practice where you guys just need to get it going, how does the team like look to her? How is she as a leader, I should say?
Yeah, so Maya is a local kid. The high school that I used to teach at and coach at, as well as our other assistant coach, Mario Meza, coached her and taught her at the local high school close to us here. Um, so we kind of had a connection with her from that. Mario was very close with her. And obviously she had opportunities to play other places and she had um, some chances to go higher divisions. But our conversation with her and her mom was, she can make history here, like you said. She could go down as one of the best volleyball players ever to come here and in Division 3 probably. And so it took some convincing, but we got her to come to Laverne. And she wasn't a superstar right away. She's had to have a lot of training. She's had to have a lot of hard, practices and hard days where she's learning a lot of fundamentals because she's a late volleyball player. She started playing in high school and was a very talented soccer and um, basketball player before this. And so as a coaching staff, we've really had to work so much on her technical ability and bringing her up to speed because she's such an incredible athlete that her leadership has been kind of more in these latter years. So this last year, kind of asking her to step into this role. Obviously, physically, no one can really touch her ability. So it's getting her leadership to something that matches that has been a unique challenge for us as a coaching staff. Usually, you look at the best player in the nation and they're natural leaders. Maya's more of a quiet leader. Maya is a really good friend to everyone on her team. Maya is like I have a young son. I have young sons, and they look up to Maya. Like Maya is a leader just by watching her and by being in her presence, you feel like I want to be like Maya. We were able to recruit her younger sister because her younger sister wants to come play with Maya. And um, the way she holds herself on campus and the way she walks around and the way she speaks with, her professors and administration, she's just really a role model for everyone. Our local young girls, they just love her. So her leadership is, like I said, it's a quiet leadership and it's leading by example is the way she does that. She's not the most vocal player on the team. She's not the craziest, like she'll get the biggest kill of the game and she looks the same as she gets on a regular kill. She's very steady and consistent in her demeanor. And the girls have learned to really embrace that from her, and they really hype her up. And but Maya is very steady, very calm, even with lifting, even with, campus events. You can imagine, we have such a small school. You can imagine everybody wants a piece of Maya. Everybody wants to interview her. Everybody wants to talk to her. And she's so humble and she's so kind. And her freshman year, when she was an honorable mention All-American, Coach Mario had to actually kind of explain to her what that meant, and explain to her, like, no, your name's gonna go on the wall. We have a banner on our wall for all the All-Americans, and like, your name's gonna be up there, and this means you were one of, the top 50 players. So she's just so humble, and she's come such a long way, um, specifically in her, obviously her ability and her physical ability has come leaps and bounds, but leadership wise, in these last few years, we've really like tried to train that up in her. And for us as coaches, like I said, figuring out that difference of the leader that you usually look for in a team is someone super loud and, you know, always just bringing everybody around them and pulling in. And Maya, we've had to approach in a different way and let her really physically lead, and lead in a way that's comfortable for her, because that's where she thrives. So we try to balance her out and do have that loud leader and find that in someone else. But it's been really interesting as a coaching staff, kind of accepting and embracing the way that Maya is, and letting her kind of do her thing and let her go off. And in that last run of games, the second half of our season, she really found herself and was just incredible. She was, incredible to watch, incredible to coach, just so fun to be a part of.
I mean, finding players who are both good and humble is probably one of the most difficult things to do, in my opinion. And I think Maya did an incredible job of rounding out her game this year. Just like she's always been a good attacker statistically, great defense, like great on backcourt defense. But I think she did a really good job improving from the line and from a blocking standpoint this year. I actually was comparing her to Olivia Babcock, which is a very big comparison, but just very similar styles of play. And that humbleness is, now that I'm learning about this, and obviously now thinking about it, like the soccer background too, whereas Babcock didn't start playing till, her junior year of high school. It's just, I mean, that's incredible to hearing a player that has that kind of, that can be that top player, that can be that national player of the year candidate, and not really care about that individual award, and more or less be a team. I mean, I just love hearing that. But obviously, like, you guys play a lot of top tier competition, being a prestigious school for volleyball, like, and so obviously you've played tons and tons of amazing athletes. But from like a coaching standpoint, you guys have Maya Ray, who's definitely the player that other coaches are like, she's gonna get her kills. We can't do anything about it. She's just that good of a player. But looking at it from an opposing side, has there been a player or a team that you guys have played, where it's kind of like, obviously you want to win and you want to do good against them, but there's this player that you're just like, yeah, if they're gonna get 50 assists, it's gonna happen. Like, there's nothing we can do. They're just that good. The best we can do is contain them. Who's been a player that you have had the opportunity to coach against, whether it was this year or previous years, that kind of was like the deal?
Yeah, this year getting to play against Juniata was really quite a pleasure, because, obviously they had already won two national championships the year before. They were going for the third, and getting to see Olivia Foley and watch her run her offense, you can see that that's the difference. You can see that, they have all these great attackers, but she is really the linchpin holding that team together. The way that, watching her even in warmups, the way that she can push the ball across the court to her outsides, she's setting an end tempo ball like 30 feet across the court a lot. So, our game plan against Juniato is, let's serve them tough and get them passing off the net and force them outside. But when you have one of the best outsides and one of the best setters, the best setter in the country, that can only get you so far. So it was like, let's not have them perfect passing on the net. Let's at least narrow it down to them having to set to their pins, because they have great middles too. So um, that was really such a joy to watch her from across the net. Obviously we're competing to win, but watching a Division 3 setter play 6 rotations like that and the way that she runs her offense was just beautiful. Um, Obviously we had to play against the net from Georgia over at CMS, Georgia McGovern, for the last, she played 5 years, but um similar to that, where it's like she's in control, she's controlling the offense, and she's running the offense really well, and good pass, bad pass, she's going to find a way to get her hitters in a position where they can be terminal. And that was really exciting to watch from our side of the net in the Elite Eight.
I mean, I feel like going into that question, I knew the obvious answer was going
Yeah.
to be Olivia Foley. I mean, when you have and Giuliani, I'm pretty sure they had 7 or 8 players who averaged over 2 kills a set, which is absolute insanity to say. A lot of schools won't even have that many players over a 4 year span
Right.
average that many kills per set. And obviously, like Mackenzie Cooley is an insane middle. Um, but I mean, CMS too, like they are another program that has been a staple program for volleyball. Um, all around one of the better teams in the nation for their all around game. So like I mentioned, like you guys play in a very tough conference. You play top level competition. But going away from the competition and going away from the game, the matchups, the encore, everything, what has been like a memory from this season that makes you glad to be part of Laverne? That makes you look back at it and say, this is why I chose Laverne. This is why I'm part of this program. This is why I've been part of this program for so long. So like, what's been like an off-court memory, whether it was like a bus ride, a trip, and any of the above that you just look back on and you're like, yeah, this is why I chose this place. This is my home.
The Division 3 experience, I think, is so different than most of what our sport experiences. So, with the NIL and girls making money and volleyball is growing and growing and growing, Division 3 I think is still really grassroots. And Division 3 is really a special place if you want to be more than a volleyball player. And I think, like, getting to coach these women and see them succeed and go through what they go through in their lives, and seeing them do so well as volleyball players, is what's really special to me, because like I said, I'm a professor as well, and so it's really important to me to see what these girls do with their lives and who they become when they leave us and as they're with us. I probably can't say a specific memory, but we had a lot of things thrown at us this year as a team. We had a lot of things that we had to work through. We had, some unfortunate events that, some injuries and some things that happened outside of volleyball that really could have derailed our whole season. And watching them persevere and watching them get through it, and then you travel and you travel and you travel, and at the end of the season, and it's right when finals are, and the tenacity, and to see that the girls still are able to have high GPAs and pass their finals and go get jobs, and they're such good people. Like I said, I have young kids. I would trust any of our players to take my kids and babysit them. And we have really what feels like a family environment with our team. And we love being with them. And, for the NCAA tournament, they only allow you to take 17 total on your roster. And we carried a big roster this year. And I specifically remember, okay, we're going to Boston. That's not a cheap place to travel to. And so, as a program and as a coaching staff, we decided we're taking everyone, and we'll figure out a way to fundraise. We'll figure out a way to pay for it above and beyond what the NCAA pays for, because that's what's important to us as a program, is who these girls are, and they're all part of the team and they're all part of the wins, whether they stepped on the court or not. And I feel a lot of pride in that as a coach and as an alumni, that, like, we are not excluding girls because there's spots, the last 5 or 6 spots on the team, a lot of those girls aren't playing for weeks on end. They're not stepping on the court. They're not stepping into a match or checking in, but their role in practice and their role on the bus and their role on the bench are just as vital and as as important as anybody on the court. So I do take a lot of pride in the way that our program does that, and just seeing the women and the character that they have. Um, so yeah, not a specific memory, but like I'm very prideful of like who Laverne is in that sense. Like people come watch our games and they love watching our bench. People meet our players out, I call it in like the real world, outside of the volleyball gym, like, and I hear about it. They're such wonderful people. It's so great to work with them, and helping get them jobs and things like that is really what I take pride in as one of their coaches.
Mean, that's beautiful. And I mean that not only reflects on them as a player, but you as coaches and as a program that they might not play say at all during the season. They might not step on the court their whole career, but they're still willing to stay and get behind the cause of Liberman volleyball because of the fact that they believe in it and that they know that like, hey, I might not step on the court, but I can show impact in other ways and I can still improve as a player. And I think that's like very telling of how you guys are as coaches as well as the program as a whole, that you can consistently can get players like that. But obviously that's like a really like that as a coach, that's got to be wonderful. And I have like kind of one final question, and it's more of a coaching philosophy question. I was just wondering if you could kind of like break down the importance of finding the balance between having fun while also being able to say lock in for a game. Because I think what a lot of young, even like bench players who like are the players on the bench that are going to get you hyped, struggle to find is that balance of, hey, listen, like you're giving us a lot of energy and the goofiness is helping us, but right now, like we need this specific thing from you to like help us improve on the court. Like whether it's like, hey, we need you to cheer louder for our kills. We need you to cheer louder. So just could you, if you could English, if you could kind of speak on the importance and of finding that balance and how one might find it.
Yeah, I think like we have a very, like I said, like a really lively bench, and we have like a really high level, high energy gym culture. We're silly, we're loud, our coaches are up, we're excited. We have kind of this like some would say looser feel to our team. And the juxtaposition being across the net from Juniata, who's very militant and very strict, you can see I think players sometimes are too serious, and that can be really detrimental mentally to them. And so having that balance of we're having fun, we're all just here playing volleyball, and then knowing how to win. And I think as coaches, we overlook that. You have to teach them. I am fortunate to have coached a lot of years, all ages. And when you coach young players like 13s and 14s, you have this idea of teach them everything, right? And then you think when you get to college, well, I don't have to teach them that. Yes, you do. If you're going to have the team that's silly and the team that's having fun and crazy, you also need to teach them how to be serious, and you need to teach them how to work through problems. So, um, we like to keep the consistency in our practice gym that we have in our playing gym, right? So when the scoreboard's on or the scoreboard's off, who are we? And so teaching them that balance of, okay, hey, in a timeout, we're silly, we're having fun, we're winning. The timeout's called, like there's structure. You're listening. Um, we do sometimes in our timeouts break off, like I have all the pin hitters. I'm the pin hitter coach. So the pin hitters will come to me, and then we have the setting coach and the defense coach. And then so sometimes in our timeouts, if we feel like we need to get really specific stuff across that's not happening because we're playing too loose, we'll do a timeout that's broken out like that, where we can really specifically talk to our position groups and get that across. And then we come back to center as a big group and talk about team things. But I think the philosophy wise, they're not going to do anything that you're not training, right? You can't expect them in a game to snap out of it and, you guys are being too silly. You need to get serious and win if you haven't trained that. And vice versa. If you're so strict and you're always constantly beating and training and training and training, and they're not having any fun, and then in the game you're like, come on, you guys, relax, let's have some fun. Like they don't know how to do that either because you haven't trained it. So as a coach, the philosophy that I have on that is teach them everything. If you want them to be having fun and intense and have good, gym culture and good morale, you have to have that in your practice gym. You have to train that in them. They have to be training that in the weight room when they're with their strength coach. They have to be doing that, whatever your philosophy is, it needs to be applied consistently.
I mean, I definitely like that answer, and like having to remember that these are young athletes, especially like these incoming freshmen. They were high schoolers less than a year ago.
Yeah.
Um, they were high school athletes. Some of them even like 17U club athletes, which
Yep.
is a lot is even younger. So it's remembering that. I definitely like that. How are we going to start? How type mentality? Because growing up, one of the biggest things I was taught was treat every point like it's 0-0, and you're trying to establish the game. First set 0-0. That's how we play our game. Throughout high school, that's how I played my game. Was how am I going to get this first point, and how am I going to contribute to this first point? How are we going to get going? Um, but I definitely agree with that. Like you have to coach these things. Like I get though on the other side too is like I feel like a lot of it is fair to assume that people would be like just be able to do that. But sometimes it's not even just coaching it. Sometimes it's just adding on to like, hey, remember, like you have to do this then. Like if we're down this many points, the bench energy is very massive. Like
Yeah.
it's like also finding that balance between being like like how my array is, like being humble and being cocky at the same time. But I really appreciate that answer. That is a very in-depth answer, and
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of goes in line with what I was thinking, but a little bit more in depth into my mindset personally about having to coach that mentality and having to coach those players to have fun while also being serious and helping them find that balance. Especially since you can coach both, but if you don't help them find that balance, it's going to be nearly impossible for them. But in general, I really appreciate you coming on. And I've said this before. One of the reasons this page is even a thing, so I greatly appreciate that. Do you have anything else you want to add before?
No, thank you for, providing a platform and a voice for Division 3, especially in, the Facebook group that we are both in. It's can be a lot of really heavy Division 1 talk, and there's a place to play for everyone, and I'm a big advocate for Division 3 athletics and a big advocate for women's sports in the sense of like there's a place for you, and for a lot of athletes like Maya Ray herself, like Division 3 was the best choice for her and is the best place for her to thrive. And um, just being a voice and a platform for that and making sure that our young athletes know that Division 3 is here and it's high level volleyball. This is not, this isn't club level volleyball. We're playing really high level NCAA volleyball. That Elite 8 was as strong as the Division 2 Elite 8. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And you heard it here first, folks. I mean, there's nothing wrong going, even transfers, nothing wrong going from Division 1 to Division 3. We had Division 2 on our roster at Sage, which is crazy to say, and a Division 1, two Division 1 players as well come down to Division 3 for us. So there's nothing wrong. Division 3 is a wonderful spot. And I can't thank you enough for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye bye.